Oh no, not again! Colombia loses to Chile in Wednesday night's matchup in Santiago. Not a good thing after Colombia lost to Uruguay over the weekend. It appears Team Colombia is on a losing streak. The final score, 4-0. That's the big sports story the country's talking about this morning. But the big news story that people are shaking their heads over, a pregnant woman stopped at Bogota's airport with a stomach full of liquid cocaine capsules. Police say the 29-year-old woman, who is 6 months pregnant, had swallowed 100 capsules of cocaine. She's being evaluated at a Bogota hospital. Police say she is from Lithuania. They say she flew here from Caracas, spent 10 days in Colombia, and was flying back to Caracas when police at El Dorado stopped her because they say she was very nervous going through security, and that's what tipped them off. She told police that the drugs inside her were ultimately destined for Barcelona, Spain. Airport authorities say this is the first pregnant drug mule intercepted at El Dorado in 5 years. Political news now. President Uribe says he is willing to cancel a referendum on whether he should be allowed to run for a third term if that referendum will stand in the way of political and judicial reforms that his administration is trying to make. The Congress is currently deciding when that referendum will take place. The president said the Congress currently in place was going to be removed because of rampant corruption, but instead of kicking everybody out because of the Parapolitica, the FARC Politica, the Yetis Politica, you name it, Politica scandal, well, he's decided to keep everything as is and allow the investigations to take their course. He's basically saying, look, I'm trying to work with the Congress and keep things moving along while the probes go on. But the Congress has said, look, if we're going to have a referendum on a third term for the president, then we're not going to be taking up the judicial and political reform issues. We told you about controversial videos showing masked men trying to recruit students at public universities to leftist causes allied with the FARC, and how school officials couldn't say whether these masked men were students practicing free speech or actual guerrilla members on campus. Well, now this controversy is growing. New videos from the National University in Bogota and the University of Valle in Cali are causing quite a stir. In Cali, for example, a group of students are seen celebrating the 44th anniversary of the FARC and even paying tribute to 3 FARC leaders killed in military operations earlier this year. At the National University, presentations are made to students by Bolivariano movement members on how to use Molotov cocktails, build bombs, and the best way to throw rocks and stones during a protest. Well, Defense Secretary Juan Manuel Santos says this is not free speech. He says this is terrorist recruitment. He's concerned the masked men on the videotapes are not students expressing opinions, but real terrorists. He says he will send police and military forces onto college campuses if laws are being broken. Colombia is calling on the FARC to give up the fight, and the government is offering special assistance to any guerrillero who wants to change his or her life. The Uribe administration chose the town of San Vicente del Caguan as the place to relaunch the Programa de Desmovilización. This is a program designed to convince guerrillas to turn in their guns, their hostages, and themselves to get the help they need to start a new life in civilization instead of the jungle. The program held a vallenato concert in San Vicente with Pipe Pelees and El Checo Acosta. They sang a song called En la Distancia, which talks about leaving your past behind. And that's exactly the message the government hopes the FARC hears. Now, they picked San Vicente del Caguan for this program because of its history. This town was once considered the capital of the Zona de Distensión, a demilitarized zone created by former President Andrés Pastrana to try for a dialogue with the FARC years ago. But when the military and the police left to respect the demilitarized zone, the FARC took over, building jungle prisons for kidnap victims and cocaine laboratories. The Pastrana government eventually sent troops back in, and the war continued. Now, years later, and under a new president, there is hope the guerrillas in the Llanos are tired of the fight and ready to accept change. Back to Bogota now. More improvements to public transportation here in the nation's capital. RCN's Efren Arce is on the story for us today. Efren?
Hey, Brian, remember that a couple of days ago we were talking about the new El Dorado airport?
Yeah, I remember. It was a great story.
Well, guess what? Progress in the city does not stop. And what you're looking at right now is the new Terminal 4, the south part of Bogota. It cost over 42,000 million pesos and has 23,000 square meters. This is the place where the buses that head down to the south side of Colombia, south side of Bogota, like Melgar, Girardot, Ibagué, and Cali will depart from. This place will definitely help improve the traffic in the area, because right now people come out wherever they can and they stop buses all over the place, making traffic a nightmare, especially in high seasons. This terminal will start operating in the month of October. So Brian, next time you want to head down to Melgar to catch some sun, you know that the South Terminal is the place to start your trip. Reporting from South Bogota, I'm Ephraim Arce for RCN News in English.
All right, thanks, Ephraim. And of course, Melgar is a great place to work on your tan. All right, before we go, we want to encourage you to visit our webpage each day, not just for the news from Colombia, but to join our forums and to give us your ideas to make this program even better. You'll find links to our Facebook site and a link to my email and the emails of our entire English language staff. We say goodbye today on Colombia's north coast, in La Guajira. There's a coal mine there that's a huge tourist attraction. It's called El Cerrejón. You can actually put on boots and a helmet and climb down into the center of the earth. It's really cool. And if coal is not your thing, well, they also have salt mines there that you can visit. And the salt mines have wild flamingos who live nearby. Pretty cool. That's RCN News in English. We're bringing Colombia to the rest of the world.